It's all about the rookie roundup today. Who's doing what, where, who earned those draft pick slots, and who's got some questions to answer. We're going to get into that today on Locked On NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back Eric Crocker, and of course, as always, I'm joined by my co-host Ryan Tracy from Locked On Chiefs. He is at Ryan Tracy NFL if you want to find him on Twitter, and I'm at Eric_Crocker, and of course, one of the hosts of Locked On 49ers. We want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day, and also let you know that this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. All right, man, let's get into some of these rookies that are playing right now and guys that are having impact, and a couple guys really fresh in my mind because we got to watch those two offensive linemen just last night. And the Seattle Seahawks, this is definitely a team. They've been trying to find the recipe for being able to have offensive linemen that will protect a cornerback. And that they did. Geno Smith, not Russell Wilson, but Geno Smith actually beat Russell Wilson kind of head-to-head, played well, was very efficient. And I think the offensive lineman had a big hand in that. So that is Abraham Lucas, third-round pick out of Washington State, and Charles Cross. Those guys protected. I thought they did well. First live action, you got guys across from me like Bradley Chubb, and, you've seen how he gets after quarterbacks, and definitely he can make an impact, but they slowed down the Broncos' pass rush for the most part, a pass rush that people were really kind of banking on. Hey, this defense is going to be good. You got Randy Gregory over there. They brought him over from the Dallas Cowboys, but Lucas, Cross, they did their thing. What were your thoughts on those guys?
I think you nailed it because you keep saying it in the right order. Lucas, then Cross. Because when you look at it, who gave up less pressure? It was Lucas against a flip-flopping defense. It's not like he got the same guy all night long, right? So I actually think that's telling. I was huge Charles Cross. He was my number 2 dude, right? So that's fine. He'll get there. But I think that it's really telling that what you took, and in just one game against the same defense, the same front, the same techniques, everything the same. You got a third rounder that's playing just as well, if not better, as with the first rounders. And there was only there were 10 tackles from this draft class that got significant snaps, right? Bernard Raymond did really well too. So another guy who was a little bit farther down the list. Aquanu gave up a lot of pressure as well. Like it's the adjustment period. I think this really tells me, and goes back to that thing that we always say about it, like you have to get to the league, but it's about what you do when you're in the league. And I think that's really indicative of what the Seahawks tackles did.
Yeah, they're going to need those tackles to play extremely well. And maybe one day now I have to look at the schedule and see if they play the Jacksonville Jaguars down the line. But there's a certain defensive end who may or may not have been the number 1 overall pick, who had some big splash plays in his game this past weekend. Trevon Walker against Washington Commanders. 1 sack. 1 interception. So we talked about, hey, is this going to be a process? What is that going to look like? Him kind of transitioning to a certain type of different play style. But they did some stuff where they rushed him with 2 hands in the dirt. And this is a guy who clearly, right away, hey, man, I'm making plays out there. So what are some of your thoughts on Trevon Walker, the number 1 overall pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars?
This is the old thing, like in the 90s when you were designing web pages. What you see is what you get. He's the same guy as Georgia. He's making it off the ball. He's making plays on the ball. Yes, it's going to be a transition, but the athleticism, the instincts, everything is still there. Like I was really impressed. I thought he was kind of off to a slow start in camp. I was preparing myself to have to be like really digging for some of the pluses, but some plays, I'd argue that was the play of the class from week 1. Is there somebody who made a bigger difference?
Probably not. I mean, when you watch him, the plays that he did make, the sack, I mean, the way he was able to come off the edge, the hand usage, I think that was what was most impressive about that. The hand usage, the dip, he exploded. We know he has that big-time athleticism and just, hand swipe, dipped the corner, got bent, and got to the quarterback. That was a great play. But then the interception was even better versus screen. And you see him kind of starting to rush upfield, and he feels that, right? And you expect that from veterans. How much do you expect having that feel out of guys who are rookies, especially in their first action and rushing a lot more from the outside and being a pure like, kind of 4-3 edge rusher? Yeah. And he started to go upfield and work his moves, and he said, you know what? Something isn't quite right here. And he pinned back. It almost peeled back. It almost felt like a cornerback baiting a quarterback into throwing an interception. I always talk about how, I used to like to show the quarterback the picture that he wanted to see. So let's say they have smash concept. I know I'm in cover 2, right? I know the quarterback is reading me. So if I'm down, he's going to throw the corner. If I'm back, he's going to check it down and throw that shallow. Well, if I know that, then how about I show him the picture he wants, which is, hey, I'm going to show you that I'm down. So you raise that arm and you go to throw that corner route. And as soon as he raised that arm, I drift back, get the pick. That's what Trevon Walker's interception looked like. He rushed upfield. It looked like he felt it all along, and he just was waiting for the quarterback to raise his hand. As soon as he did, boom, jumped in that passing lane and got an interception. Big-time play by a big-time soon-to-be player, it looks like right now, in Trevon Walker. So I'm excited to continue to keep watching him and see all the good things that he does with Jacksonville. A lot of people question that pick. You have Trent Baalke who made the pick, and some people thought, oh man, is Trent Baalke doing this again and reaching because of he has the long arms, and Trent Baalke likes that, and he did this with Aldon Smith, but he can't strike gold again. Well,
I'm sorry. Hutchinson doesn't make that play. Next time somebody tells you long arms doesn't matter at the defensive end position, they're wrong.
All right. So we're going to see if he continues to make plays and what happens next with Hutchinson. But we are going into a different position. I'm going to give my thoughts on the cornerback position. Kaiir Elam got drafted to the Buffalo Bills first round, but he's not the guy that's starting day one. All right, so we're going to get into that and more next. But first, we want to talk to you about our good folks over at LinkedIn. And, as you gear up for the fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. And that's where LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier for you to find the people that you want to talk to faster and for free. All right, create a job post in just minutes on LinkedIn Jobs, and you can reach a network beyond the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. All right, and then add your people and the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people for you to hire. All right, simple tools like screening questions that make it easy for you to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivery quality hires versus the leading competitors. So what are you going to do? You're going to go to LinkedIn Jobs to help you find the candidates that you want to talk to faster. And did you know that every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? All right, so post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Again, that's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they do apply. I want to thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. For your second, third listen, of course, man, you got two guys right here. Locked On 49ers, Locked On Chiefs. All right, make sure you guys tune into those shows as well. But let's get into some more of these rookies. And I kind of wanted to bring my personal experience into this because I am a guy who played the cornerback position. I was able to make it to the NFL, and there was a guy who was drafted pretty dang high. He goes by the name of D. Milliner. D. Milliner out of Alabama. And he was a big-time prospect. He ran 4.3, had good size, 6'1", 200 pounds. And, Alabama, they taught him well. Going in there, you could just tell, like, the mental aspect of the game definitely wasn't too much for him. All right. And I'm like, man, you watch him, and you say, okay, we'll see what kind of happens. But you knew day one, he was the guy that they were starting. And they told us, hey, drafted this guy 9th overall. He is a first-round pick. He is going to start day one no matter what anyone else does. And that's what happened. He did. Well, the Buffalo Bills drafted a guy by the name of Kaiir Elam. And I really like Kaiir Elam out of Florida. Mm-hmm. Thought he moved well, ran well, good size, all that stuff. He got beat out by a guy named Christian Benford. And Benford was a 6th-round pick out of Villanova. Mm-hmm. And I was extremely impressed with Buffalo. The ability to not factor in roster politics, which most teams do. And maybe that's why Most teams lose, and Buffalo right now, they're winning. All right, but Christian Benford out there wearing number 47, starting at cornerback, day one against the Rams, and he played well. He played well, wearing number 47. Now, Kaiir Elam got some reps in there. They did kind of rotate him in. But Christian Benford, he was a starter, and I want to say, if not, I think he played every single snap. So have you seen that before, a scenario where this guy is drafted really high, and they play the guy that was the 6th-round pick as opposed to the 1st-round pick? Because you don't see that very often.
No, it's not common at the cornerback spot. You know about it at the running back spot in San Francisco. They do that, but it's rarer over here. But I will tell you, it's earned too, because there were 5 rookies that started ball games or played in ball games this weekend that got PBUs. And at the end of the day, that's one of the first things that I look for. How productive are you on the ball? And he's one of them. The other 4 guys, top draft pick Derek Stingley, top draft pick Sauce Gardner, then Jalen Watson, the 7th rounder from Kansas City, and Kaiir Elam, I don't even know how to say his name right in Miami because he was an undrafted free agent. So you have 2 top dogs, and then you have guys way down the draft order. And Watson came in only because Trent McDuffie, the 1st rounder in Kansas City, who they were too scared of to even target, by the way, Kyler Murray, I see you. They didn't even target him at all, so he never got a stat. But he got hurt, pulled his hamstring. And so that's the only reason Watson got in there. And so you get that depth, that buried dude later on day 3 that is like, hey, I can play too. Just give me a chance. Let's see what happens. 3 of the top 5 guys in terms of ball production and forcing completions are guys that are day 3, if not free agents.
Yeah, and I know for me, especially coming from a smaller school, but I went D2, and obviously I found my way in the NFL. One of the toughest things for me was just the mental aspect of it. And I talked about for D. Millionaire, man, it was second nature. He was able to get that stuff down like the back of his hand. But for me, it was tough. It was all kind of verbiage and terminology that I hadn't heard. It was much more simplistic when I was in college as opposed to what I saw in the NFL. You know, Rex Ryan had a very different or difficult defense where the safety was kind of the quarterback, but there were so many different things that you had to know at the snap of a finger. So, for example, you'd have coverages, right? Whether it's sky, you have your fire zone cover 3s, and just between those two, right? Sky cover 3, fire zone cover 3, depending on like what you're seeing from the defense or the offense, from their alignment, you have to play things different. So if I'm in sky, I have to be back versus a bunch. If I'm in fire zone, I have to be up. But you got to remember those things at the snap of the fingers if a guy starts out on the outside and motions to a trips bunch. Or if he comes from the other side and motions to that, then all of a sudden I have to remember right away, oh, if he does this, okay, I'm in fire zone cover 3, not sky. Because if I'm in sky, then I got to be back. If I'm fire zone, I have this, and I have a totally different responsibility. And those things, for someone who's not used to seeing it, it can be a little difficult. So I wonder how nuanced the play calling was at Villanova for Christian Benford. Because it seems like he's come in right away and said, look, man, I got the size, I have the ability. Didn't run a crazy 40 time, 4.53, and that's probably why somebody with his size and ability slipped to a later round. But you love to see it. You love to see guys get that opportunity, and very unique. But kudos to the Buffalo Bills. It kind of lets me know that they're being ran the right way.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And kudos to anybody who keeps scratching it out. And day 3 picks, you guys are viable too.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about some more day 1, a previous day 1 pick, a quarterback. And Ryan has a question for him, but also a couple receivers from day 2 and 1 from day 1. We're going to get into those guys next, but first I want to talk to you about betonline.net and how BetOnline is your number 1 source for all of your pro and college football betting needs and sports information. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, podcasts. That's including this year's opening week games, and they were a lot of fun to watch, a lot of upsets as well. BetOnline is also your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, scores, and it's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events. That's including MLB, MMA, and I don't know if you guys watch my guy Nick Diaz out there, and he won this weekend. All right, you got boxing, and you also have golf. So head over right now to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action going on at BetOnline, where the game starts. Mac Jones. Have you been impressed by him so far?
I was impressed with him last year. I felt like he came on. Like, I didn't have high expectations. I thought he was, searching for the extension of Tom Brady, like the game manager, the guy that's going to put it in the right place, but isn't really going to put the team on the shoulders to win ball games, right? And then I thought he came on at the end of the season. I was thinking he was going to take a step forward. Now, the loss, I was the one that thought I would say this. The loss of Josh McDaniels, I think, has affected what he can do right now. There is a loss of direction on that ball team. But I've heard some outlandish things about where it is and who the fault lies with. I'm not sure it's Mac Jones, but I will tell you this. For all of you who are here during the draft run with us, I'm here for it. I'm here for the Bailey Zappi era to begin as soon as everybody's ready for it. I'm just saying that I think that there's something there.
Mac Jones quietly has lost 5 out of his last 6 games. So he did win one game. Do you know who he won that game against? Just a lucky guess.
Was it Miami?
Not Miami, Jacksonville. And he also has thrown out of those games. All right, we're talking about 6 games now. Mm-hmm. He's thrown 8 interceptions in those games. The only game he did not throw an interception. You want to guess?
Maybe it's Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
So what you're saying is you're making my point for me.
Well, I think a lot of people kind of crown him as, hey, man, like this is just the best quarterback from this class, and he's so great, and you can't be better than him, and he sees the field so well, but he's making a lot of mistakes just like the other guys. Mm-hmm. Now, he does play very efficiently. I think he knows where all his guys are. He checks down to the running backs well, and maybe it's an uphill battle when you have these different guys as your coordinators, right? I mean, his offensive coordinator was a former defensive coordinator. That's right. Something that can't be very easy to play through. So we'll see if that's hampering him, but that wasn't the case late last year, and I saw him kind of falter a little bit. He's kind of picked up really more so where he left off from last year, and I think not for the better.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, at the same time, it is a team game, and I just pulled up the wild card game last year, right, against the Bills. Now, the Bills were on fire, right? But 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 63% completion rate. That's not telling me that you've missed. That's not a bust. You haven't, like, he hasn't, like, just fallen apart, right? But it definitely looks like even in the midst of that offense, he was able to move the ball better than he has been to this point this season. So where that goes, I don't know. I can't tell you what's going to come of it. But having some competition on the roster, I think that really helps. And I think it's going to be something they have to rely on his reaction to that. And when you go through all the evals in the draft process, you get that kind of that mental picture of a guy. That's what they have to lean on right now. And if you are the Patriots organization, whether you're Belichick or anybody else working in there, I know you guys don't get to talk to each other much because everything's so dang secret, but you got to come together a little bit and work on this kid's morale and figure out a way to make that offense help him, help them. It is a big process. Having some receivers helps. You know, I do want to mention a couple of the rookie receivers because there wasn't any rookie quarterback play this weekend. I am shocked, actually, to say that. You'd think somebody would sneak in there. But just so we don't forget about the pass catchers, want to point out I was really happy with Dotson this weekend. I thought he took a big step forward and showed that he has something to really put on display. Your guy Burks, I think he had the highest yards per reception this opening weekend. That's kind of a positive, right? My big takeaway, I thought Drake London was the best of the pass catchers this weekend. Did I miss something, or you have somebody else?
Well, no, I think you made fair points for all of those guys, and I want to talk about Jahon Dotson, kind of elaborate a little bit more. The moves that he put on guys in the red zone there to free himself up. He had 3 receptions, but 2 of those 3 receptions went for touchdowns, right? 40 yards. So he's a guy that's really working to probably gain the trust of his quarterback, Carson Wentz, more. You see the dynamic ability, being able to beat guys, stack them, and then make the tough contested catches. Really strong hands at the catch point. And for a receiver that's not very big, 5'11", 180 pounds, you like to see him have that physicality to his game. So that was awesome to see. There were a couple guys who I'm still curious to see how they work to get the trust of their quarterback in a way that is really easy to not have your quarterback trust you, is to drop a go route when you are wide open and by yourself. Christian Watson, I'm a big fan of his. I think he has tons of ability. I think that he's still figuring things out on underneath. But one thing he can do, he can fly. He's a 4'3" guy, 6'4", 210 pounds. And he flew. And the ball flew through his hands when Aaron Rodgers threw it to him vertically.
They're 6 foot apart. What are you going to do?
just right off the mitts. And Aaron Rodgers, I looked at his face to see his expression, and it was just like, it won't be thrown over to that kid again. And Romeo Doubs, he's another guy who kind of had some of his, I don't want to say struggles, but those guys weren't really getting touches until Jordan Love came into the game very late. They got a couple catches and whatnot. All right. Now, one thing that their coordinator, LaFleur, did do, head coach LaFleur, was, all right, I'm going to figure out ways to just get the ball in these guys' hands because my quarterback does not want to throw them the ball anymore. He does not trust them. And if he doesn't trust those guys, man, I don't really know who he's throwing to too much. But they did a couple of end rounds. One with, Lazard. One with Christian Watson. And the other one with Romeo Doubs. So they tried to get their ball in their hands, but their quarterback is kind of, I don't know if he's trying to phase them out, or I'm curious to see if he gives them opportunities this week.
That particular quarterback is known to maybe carry a grudge a little bit. So you got to do something to ingratiate yourself back in, right? Because it can't be all Zlatan in that off, right? They have to go to those rookies eventually. So just right now, as they start practice this week, what can you show him? Hey, I got this. I know it was a mistake. It was my first ball game in this league. But let's get going forward.
Well, they're going to have to figure it out and figure it out fast because, their quarterback, he ain't playing any games. We're going to continue to watch. Yeah, we're going to continue to keep an eye out for that. And that entire situation over there in Green Bay, they just took a brutal loss to the Minnesota Vikings. Almost looked like they didn't belong on the field. On the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, just completely looked overmatched. Will that continue? We will see. And if it does, we will be keeping you updated on all of that and more right here on Locked On NFL Draft. We want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And now, for the next episode that you listen to, you got a Peacock and Williamson show. All right, Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert NFL analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast, or probably where you heard this podcast as well. But that's going to do it for this episode. We'll see y'all tomorrow when we have Rob Rang on with us live. Until then, we're out. Peace.